Good. If you don't mind running the meeting till Scott gets here.
Happy to. All right. To help out our chairman, Mr. Scott Roundtree, let's call to order the Augusta Land Bank Authority Finance Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, January 7th. Time is 1 and change. Item number 2A on the meeting here. Approve the Land Bank Finance Committee meetings from October 1st. Can I get a motion to approve?
Karen, that's gonna be you.
So moved.
I second.
It's just
Okay, approved.
it's just the two of you. So you
Got a motion from Ms. Gordon
all
and
in
second
favor. All in
by
favor.
myself. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed, say nay. Okay, hearing none, that is 2A is approved. 2B, discuss finance committee composition.
Okay. And today is a good example. When you have to have 3 people and you only have 3 people, somebody's got to be late, which is always going to happen, or somebody's not here. It's just not a good idea for us only to have the 3 people who are on the committee. So I think it would be a good idea to add 2 more people to the committee, make it actually a 5 person. And I'm going to put myself out there because I'm usually at the meetings, so somebody's going to be able to come. And I think probably Shavante, because when you look at who we have right now, he would be the other most consistent
so far. Yes.
So far, you know what I'm saying? I would not expect to see the administrator until she gets a designee, and I don't blame her. Yeah, she got a lot of fires that she has to deal with. So,
If there's 5 people on the committee, is 3 still enough?
3 would still be.
Constitute a quorum and
Yep.
approve and move forward.
That's correct. That's correct. It just moves your quorum up now to a 3-person quorum.
Okay. That makes sense to me. I motion to approve.
Well, Mr. Chair, may I ask Mr. Johnson a question?
Yes,
Of course.
That felt crazy. I thought, and we need to go back and look at the meeting minutes from when we established these 2 committees. But I thought that you volunteered at that time to be a part of each committee, which formerly had us at 4.
I did, and when John and I had that discussion,
Yes.
it was his legal opinion that we needed to have it done formally.
Okay.
Because my thought was, based on my reading, is that the chair of the board
Would be on
is
any committee.
automatically a member of each of the ad hoc committees. That was not his legal opinion.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was the reason for.
And so then this motion, if approved, would not only formally add you, but also add interim director Bass. Okay, okay. And so, I guess if the motion could just be phrased that way, that partly it is the formal addition, and then, yes, sir.
And so Scott, what we just took a look at, Ryan ran the meeting, and he and Karen voted to accept the meeting minutes, as well as going on to item 2B about the composition. And it was my recommendation that we make it a 5-member board, which means you have 3 for a quorum. That way, when it's just 3 people, it's pretty tough for consistency, just because this is a business day for everyone. And I recommended that I be added, as well as Director Vassar added to the committee. Sean's question was, hey, thought that you said, you were on all the committees, and that is based on my reading of the Robert's rules, that was correct. But John's legal opinion, and he said no, that needed to be voted on. so that the chair of the board is not automatically a member of all ad hoc committees. And so, my recommendation to this board, to this committee, is that I be added as well as interim director Vassar. That way we have a better chance of having three people being here consistently.
I've made a motion to approve moving to a 5-person board, formally adding Chairman Johnson to the board and adding Mr. Bassett.
Okay. And I'm assuming we would, if approved, submit that to the full board for full approval.
That's correct.
Okay,
Second.
got it.
Y'all got 'em?
I needed a refresher as well. Do you want me to finish this one? That's what I say. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
And now Ryan say, take your job back.
We're through to my first one. I needed
Great.
all right, so Mr. Chairman, you are on item 2C now.
Understood. Okay, so now we're gonna discuss control discrepancies that we reviewed from the 2023 audit management letter. Mr. Edwards.
Yes, sir. I can take you top to bottom on those. That'd probably be the easiest. So the first two control discrepancies that were noted were unsigned travel reimbursements by a board member. We've since made sure that corrections are in place for things of that nature as they were discussed in 2024. That specific trip was to Cleveland. The travel settlements were signed by me as the employee, but were not signed later by a board member. And again, we've made the correction of how those processes take place. So that was taken care of by policy in 2024. Next, you have $500 withdrawal from Cadence, and then supporting documentation for the DJ and bartender during the conference. Those expenses were conference related, came out of the conference account. Kimara made sure to reach out to staff over at the TCO office to see if we can get the bartender receipt for the $100. The DJ receipt for bartender for the $100. But we've got documentation by way of email, confirmation of the booking. We are working to try to get that invoice just to have on record. But again, something noted in 2024, again, being a conference expense. Number 4 on that list.
Did you deal with it? Did you talk about the travel reimbursement?
Yeah, I did 1 and 2 together.
Okay, got it.
Then took number 3 to 928. So I'm going to write down her bullets.
Gotcha.
The travel reimbursement check 3439. That was $1,337.99. That included that per diem. Her notation there and concern, aside from the credit card purchase, was the additional authorization, reading from a phone, of a board member. That's now since been corrected in policy as well. Going back to what that expense was, we traveled to the activation event for Yoba Development in New York. We were not charged fees for attendance to that event, but thought it appropriate to take care of dinner for that individual. There was multiple persons at the meal, so thus the expense. But then that conversation and interaction led to a waiving of the speaking engagement fee by Mr. Yoba to participate in our conference. So we spent $881, but we saved $50,000. We did cover his travel, which is another noted expense from 2023. There was just a plane flight, but that goes back to that whole Jamaica thing. We were flying him in, not flying me out. And we did cover his hotel, but it was at our booked rate at the Hyatt House. It was not some penthouse or anything of that nature. So again, we saved a tremendous amount of money having the engagement and thus brought a keynote. Let me keep going down her list. The next one, noted meals were charged to the credit card, did not have supporting documentation. That is closeout. So that December 10th, I was invited up to the Atlanta developers meeting that they had celebrating end of year. Several of them attended our conference. We received an invitation, did not have to pay for a meal, nor did we pay for the event, but thought it appropriate to pay for a drink. You can see that those expenses were $70.63, $68.71, and then you have a third of $211 were what things for the table, not for individuals. Again, going back to policies put in place after the Augusta Press wrote about those expenses and set up by the chair, voted on by the board. Those type of expenses you don't see anymore. You don't have a record of that in 24. We're not flying around and hosting and trying to bring business in. We're catering to local folks primarily. So it's already been reported again in the press that they've seen, even in the monthly request for our bank statements, a great reduction in that spending because we listen to the board's instructions and no longer have those type of expenses going out. Next one on her list. This is the travel reimbursement flag check 3483 for $261 and corresponds with the last item, check number 3484 for $330. Those were travel expenses, 2 separate days. Her notation said that it looked like I was traveling on the same day. One of those I went up on the 16th, came back the same day, then traveled to my next location. So one was in Wayne County in order to present to their board in Screven, talking about the possibility of reestablishing a land bank, and we've hosted a lot of land bank boards as they've discussed that from Burke County all the way to Cleveland, all the way to Omaha, Nebraska. Then after that, went to go see one of our prospective developers project in Charlotte. You'll note on that check number 3484, there is no overnight expense. I paid for my own hotel, but did ask for reimbursement on my vehicle travel as well as the per diem for the meal. It's also been corrected because now we have my travel allowance as part of salary recommended by the auditor. So you no longer even see per diem for mileage. We did get an investment by that investor, by the way, so I did ask to get my reimbursement back, but we got a deal out of it. I mean, all notes that needed to be in your letter, all things that the auditor needed to point out to you, but because we're looking back at 23, all things that you had already addressed in 24. So hopefully the explanations suffice for the board, and hopefully the processes that you've seen demonstrated in 24 show that we've changed the behaviors.
Great, I'll interject and appreciate you addressing each one of these individually. My strong recommendation is to respond to these in writing.
Yes, sir.
And have a formal letter that corresponds to this.
To each one.
What do we call it? The audit management letter.
Okay.
That just goes right in the file.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
I think you've got good, and they can be succinct answers, but just enumerated, we can copy this into a document, have your text a different color. But just in 1 month and 10 years, somebody comes back and says, what the heck was going on? It's got right there, and it's a crystal clear answer.
I got you.
And I think that should just be the policy for each of these letters as they come out, is just to have a question.
Got it.
I think that's a great idea.
Got it. Yeah, we can. It was also requested by. I'm speaking out of order. May I also add something?
Go ahead.
It was also requested by Mr. Downs that at some point in time we put together a formal policy and procedure for the auditing process. We can add that in because the finance committee will see the draft version of the audit, have it reviewed, have your questions answered. We are changing companies, of course, so that'll be something we continue to request. Then upon the finance committee's recommendation to the full board and acceptance by the full board is when you get your final audit. So in that window of finance committee's first review of draft and full board acceptance of the final, we can make sure that any discrepancies are addressed in that window so it can be a part of what the board accepts. So we'll just make that part of policy.
I'll volunteer to work with you on drafting this letter since I'm particular about it. But I do think that's just a really easy, and then when anybody comes and look, it's just
It's right there.
Right,
Wow.
and certainly we're aware of the policies that have been adjusted or added or amended to address address some of these issues that we knew about. And in that letter, you know, reference specifically the policies that we have established to curb some of that.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I don't know how to say this, so, I'll make a motion to receive this information and request a formal letter incorporating these responses to go into the file. And then I guess I'll add, Mr. Edwards' good suggestion that as we set the audit policy, we make it a requirement of the staff to respond formally to this letter, so that we've got something for the file for 24 and beyond.
May I add may I recommend one thing to be added to the motion?
Sure.
If we can, that formal letter that would be added we would have the time to add by the time the board approves the final, as opposed to having it prepared when it's draft. Because again, you see it once and that's when we get the letter. So we need time to respond.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. You can't draft the letter until
There you
you
go,
receive
there you
it.
go, yeah,
I think procedurally, it shouldn't be too difficult once the draft is received.
correct.
This panel can review the draft.
Yep.
And review any discrepancies. Or
Ask questions.
Ask questions.
There we go, yeah.
And then, I think that maybe this last time we received the audit and it was presented at the board meeting later that day. We can receive it as a finance committee.
Yeah.
And gap it to the next meeting.
There we go.
So that we would have the time for that response.
Yeah.
But as far as a motion and a requirement, I think that the timing of it doesn't need to be eliminated. We can say that two separate motions.
Yeah.
Approve this as receipt.
Okay, two separate motions. One,
Start with the first.
approve receipt of the information that Mr. Edwards just shared with the board.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And similarly, related to this issue, that the staff has the opportunity to review future audits with the finance committee and address any responses or issues, concerns prior to submission to the full board.
In writing.
In writing.
Motion second.
All in favor?
Aye. We haven't voted so the other one is just a motion to request that Mr. Edwards for this 2023 year, but we can just present it in writing so that it can be properly filed.
Second. Second that? All in favor?
What was that last motion?
So-
Response letter
What you
from
just presented is
the
2023
director
in writing.
to the 2023.
And I'm happy to work offline with Mr. Edwards, so we have a good form for that.
Great.
That can, just a comment
We have to
offline.
vote for the third item?
They did.
All this write-up means that your auditor's doing their job, they're getting into the details, it also means staff is busy and not working, and, so I think all this is okay, and the goal here is just to have something so that when somebody comes back through, it takes zero time from Mr. Edwards in the future to have to respond to these things.
Excellent.
The person can just look at the letter and move on.
There you go.
Excellent.
Okay. So, moving off of 23 audit, item D, an update on our 2024 audit. Kamara?
So we're working on it, but we did hit a roadblock last week. The accountant that we had at Baird has since moved and started her own company prior to finishing our audit, kind of prior to starting. So now we have a different person at Baird. They just emailed me yesterday with stuff that they're requesting. I don't think it started from scratch, but kind of close to scratch.
Okay.
So we've been set back a little bit, but we are still working on it. I hope to have something to be almost done by this meeting, but I think it'll be a little bit longer than what we expected. But
make sure that I recommend that we make sure that note is part of our audit file for 2024. So that if there's ever any questions about the delay and the timing of it, we know exactly why that occurred.
And prior to that departure, was there an estimated delivery date, or were they still just in the fact finding?
So I checked with 2 weeks before she told me she was leaving, she said they were still in the planning phases.
Okay. Okay.
Just for edification of the board, Mr. Chairman, we have already backed into the city's budget process. We know as an NGO, our stuff is due in August. So we're definitely tracking to ensure that finance sees its 24 audit well before we start city process, so that you can recommend to the board to accept that 24 before we start asking the city about 27 money. In addition to, we're gonna check and see what this delay does and see if there's a discount that comes with that. Because we've essentially lost 3 months. So we're staying on top of both ends, the timeline as well as our agreed to pricing.
We're dealing with this with multiple accounting firms, totally independent of Land Bank. There's a lot of movement in the CPA world right now, particularly in Augusta. So I'm not surprised, it's not unique.
Yeah, it's not for this year. It's unique, I think, for this time of year. But I've also heard out of Atlanta and here a lot more movement in the CPA and accounting world than is typical for this time of year. No motion on this, just a request. If you get important updates, benchmark dates, and information, that's just passing along information as it comes along, so we kind of know how they're moving along or not with their procedure.
Appreciate y'all updating us on that industry news.
Y'all have done a lot of work to get caught up on all this, and I think you set a goal of just being caught up. So if they can do a discount, that'd be great. If they can't do a discount, could they prioritize both the 24 and 25 audits and get just fast track both so you can just be done and caught up this summer? So
Their engagement was just for 24 thus far, right? I didn't think we did a multi-year with them. We'll go back and check and see if we did.
When you're negotiating, if you're negotiating just over one thing, you give them an either or and let them pick which one they think, but they both be beneficial.
That works for us. We were already prepared at the time of the board saying that they would onboard Baird as the company to cover the cost in full. So if the lack of a discount expedites timelines, that makes more sense for us at this point. So we can check on both.
All right, no further discussion on the 24 audit. And no other items that I'm aware of. Meeting is adjourned until 2 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Great job.
Thank you.